Funny how I last week talked about potential power creep in set 2, which actually isn't power creep, yet they are now power creeping cards in set 2 in the best way possible, as it's defense creep.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today we've got some very exciting announcements, as not only do we have some amazing new cards for Magnolia as well as for the Seraph Snow deck, but Bushiroad revealed a very interesting new mechanic, or at least a new type of card that's going to be introduced in set 2 for every single nation, which does change things a lot. Because yes, you read the title correctly, as we're going to get triggers with effects, as this isn't the same thing that happened with the starter decks where they teased us. These new triggers actually have effects printed on the cards, and they do matter in fact. And then on top of that, Bushiroad is going crazy with the reveals for the upcoming Revival Selection set for Premium, as the reprints that have been confirmed for that set are insane. With just a few clans confirmed, it is already looking to be the best reprint set that we ever got in Vanguard. But more on that later in this video. First, let's talk about the big one for standard Overdress players. Let's talk about these new trigger units with effects, because what Bushiroad revealed are these new front triggers we're going to get in set 2. These are brand new rare front triggers with the effect Continuous Guardian Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets shield plus 5k. So effectively, what these cards are, they are 20k shields during the mid to late game. They do to some extent replace the old heal triggers that we had in V that also had the 20k shield mark. Now, does this change a lot? Not necessarily, as 5k shield isn't a lot of shield, but during the later turns, it can definitely help you, because against certain Vanguard swings, getting that extra 5k can now suddenly turn an attack that was not guardable with the 15k shield, now actually be able to guard it with one card, or you can turn a 1 to pass potentially in a 2 to pass. So this extra 5k shield could potentially help you to save up multiple cards in your hand over the course of a single game. And because we now get these front triggers with skills, it opens up the floodgates for all type of triggers with effects, as now it's less likely for them to say we're not going to print skills on triggers, as they already did so once, and probably it's more likely that they will do it again. So unlike V-Series, it's going to look like that Overdress will have way more interesting things happening, and probably our entire deck at some point in the line will do something like we had during the G era, where all our triggers were important, or at least helps us to use our strategy or allow us to push the game forward. Now, with those front triggers discussed, let's dive into the new reveals that we got for Magnolia as well as Seraph Snow, as we got 2 new cards for both archetypes, and these cards are something else. Because for Magnolia, and to some extent for Stoicheia, we've got a brand new grade 0 normal order, which is Wild Intelligence. And Wild Intelligence has the effect, play this with cost, counter plus 1, discard 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 card with the same grade as your Vanguard or lower from your drop, and call to the rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is Sylvanhorn Beast King Magnolia, choose up to 2 cards instead of 1. So in a generic sense, it's counter plus 1, discard 1, mill 3, resurrect 1 card from your drop. Could be useful depending on your playstyle. If you need something from your drop and you're very dependent on certain pieces, then this could actually help you to get to that. And that milling could also be some way to accelerate through your deck to hopefully get that card in the drop zone so you can immediately get it onto the board. But that is just lowballing it. If we look at it in the context of Magnolia, this card is huge, because you're now able to turn 1 card and 1 counterblast into 2 units, which is ridiculous for Magnolia, because Magnolia is rearguard reliant and you want to have a full board, or at least almost a full board at all times, so you can maximize the potential of all your skills, especially with the multi-attack that Magnolia provides. And Magnolia is also more piece reliant, that you need specific units on the board, so this card helps you to keep getting those units on the board if they keep getting retired or you had to guard with them early. So this is a very flexible card. And and it's grade 0, so you could potentially use it in the early game if you want to be a bit more aggressive, but keep in mind then you probably won't have a Magnolia as your Vanguard, so you get less value out of the card. But overall, it's a very flexible card and can do some shenanigans in Premium, because in Premium you can still use Magnolia as your Vanguard while you stride into your clan stride and still do your main plays, while also getting the benefit of this type of recursion. So overall, it's a very powerful order card that I definitely can see a lot of play. Then if we take a look at the second card that we've got for Magnolia, we see Sylvanhorn Beast Damainaru, and this is a brand new grade 2 triple R for the nation, and it has the ability, although when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is Sylvanhorn Beast King Magnolia, costs Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rearguards, and until the end of turn, that unit can attack from the back row and gets power plus 5k. So this is basically Magnolia's skill on a body that then can give it to another unit. Because it's the same skill, it can give a unit plus 5k power and allow it to attack from the back row, but now as you can combine this with Magnolia, this means on the very first grade 3 turn, instead of having access to 4 attacks, you could potentially have access to 5 attacks, or maybe even 6 if you have 2 of these cards in your hand. But keep in mind, it costs you Soul, which is a tricky resource as most of your other powerful cards also use Soul, so keep that in mind. But overall, a very flexible card to achieve even more multi-attacks. But on top of that, it also is a very good target for just multi-attack purposes itself, because it has the ability on a rearguard circle once a turn. When this unit is chosen by your Vanguard's effect, this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. This is very similar to the right line units, as those units gain a power when it can attack from the back row, but in order to attack from the back row, they need to be targeted by your Vanguard's ability, just like this, so it fulfills the same purpose. But with this new card being in the mix, you can use this effect to allow the right line units to attack from the back row, and then use Magnolia's effect to target this unit, so it gains even more power. So you now have a different way how you're going to allocate your skills and how you want to chain them. So overall, very solid support for Magnolia, and I think the deck is getting a lot more spicy than what we saw in set 1. But of course, Magnolia is the only build that got more tools to work with. We also got some more Imprison cards and more pieces for Seraph Snow, and we start off with a brand new double R grade 2, which is Aurora Battle Princess Derry Violet. And Derry Violet has the ability, although when this unit is put on the Guardian Circle, if one or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, cost Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units and it cannot be hit by a grade 2 or lower unit's attack until the end of the battle. So basically what this is, it's a perfect guard for your unit while it's being attacked by a grade 2 or lower unit. But you need to have a card in your prison while doing that. Now with the latest prison support, it's probably a lot easier to attain this amount of cards in your prison while it's your opponent's turn, because you're going to imprison way more cards than you used to. So this is actually very interesting, because this gives the nation or the archetype even more stall options, because you can run the normal perfect guards, and now you have also this grade 2 that can also be substituted as a perfect guard. Now you're probably not going to run 4 copies of this, but this could be a nice tech, maybe 1 or 2 of, depending on the scenario and if the meta allows you to benefit from this skill, because keep in mind, it cannot guard against grade 3 attacks. So Bastion is a problem, and Valiente can be an issue as well, but of course you have your normal PGs and Overtrigger to deal with those cards in those specific situations. But the more important thing about this card is that it can intercept and still activate its ability. So it's a very flexible card that allows you to get more value out of this card, however the situation might meet the demand. So overall, a very interesting card that will probably become a staple tech card that will be used during specific metas where this type of skill will actually benefit you, and you want to be more focused on a stall approach, as this makes the Seraph Snow deck even more stall heavy. But the more interesting support card that we got for our prison is the triple R grade 2, as that is Aurora Battle Princess Perio Turquoise. And Perio Turquoise has the abilities continuous or rearguard circle during your turn. If 2 or more of your opponent's cards are imprisoned in your prison, this unit gets power plus 5k. Very generic effect, we've seen this time and time again. It's great to keep those higher numbers, or at least those magic numbers, accessible to be able to pressure with the deck. But then we see the other effect, which is auto front row rearguard circle. When your opponent's card imprisoned in your prison is placed on the rearguard circle, that unit gets power minus 5k until the end of turn. So whenever your opponent frees one of their units, they now are going to get punished for it, besides the cost that you need to pay to free them. So this heavily discourage your opponent to keep freeing their units, because if they free a unit that's just an 8k or maybe a 10k unit without any big bonus effects, you're just wasting a lot of resources because you're not gonna get a lot of value out of them, which is pretty huge. And if you're up against a deck that can reset those units, like let's say Bruce for example, or Bastion, you get more value out of this minus 5k power because that will stack for all the attacks that that unit is going to attack. So this is a very interesting card as it allows the prison deck to play in a different manner. And interesting enough, this effect does stack. So if you have 2 of these girls on the front row, every unit they go into free, they get minus 10k. And yes, units can get into the minus. So if it's a grade 1 you're going to free, it's going to be minus 2k. So it does absolutely nothing while it's on the board except for whatever skill it might be. So overall a very interesting card for Seraph Snow, but with another card that was revealed this week that we're going to talk about later this weekend, they're heavily pushing Seraph Snow in a different direction, where they used to be more around the weird pseudo bind playstyle with keeping them in the prison. They're now using those cards for different type of value, and they're gonna do different things with them. And one of those things is this minusing power, but they also have another option that can annoy other decks. But of course, these card reveals weren't the only new news that we've got this week, as we also got the confirmation of certain reprints for the upcoming Revival Selection set. And they revealed all the cards for a couple of clans, and the reveals they showed are pretty insane. So let's take a look at what they confirmed so far. And one of the clans they confirmed are the Royal Paladin reprints, and these are those reprints. Now we see Ganslot Peacesaver, which is a very important stride. We see the Flip G-Guard for Royal Paladin, which is an awesome reprint. I don't know really why they went with King of Knights Alfred, but they chose to reprint this. It looks to be that they're going to reprint at least 1 grade 3 for every clan, so they probably chose this because there isn't really anything else of notoriety to reprint. But then we see the other cards on the bottom, and besides the Stand Trigger, these are pretty huge reprints, as these are the core for the Blaster engine that allows you to restand your Blaster Blades and dish out a lot of multi-attacks. So seeing these cards being reprinted is pretty huge for Royal Paladin. And of course we see the Stand Trigger, but we knew that every clan is going to get a Stride, a G-Guard, and a Stand Trigger to be reprinted. Now with King of Knights Alfred also being confirmed, we can probably put grade 3 in that list as well, because we're going to see grade 3s for every other single clan that might or might not have a significant impact. But besides that, these reprints for Royal Paladin are pretty good. But then we get to Murukuma, and this is interesting, because basically almost all the cards here are essential for the Murukuma Infinite Loop deck. Now, I know, some of you might suddenly spasm about the thought of the Infinite Loop deck being supported and being more accessible. But the interesting thought here is that because none of these cards actually matter for Yuga, this might actually be a hint that they're going to ban the Yuga deck in Premium. And because they are going to ban that deck, they want to give the Murukuma players another way to play their clan in Premium. And by reprinting all the essential cards for the Loop variant, they can then basically essentially go into the Loop variant without any big issue, and most of the players probably won't be hurt too much in their wallet department. So this could be a nice way for Bushro to patch up with little things to then justify nuking the entire Nua Dio build. But then if we move over to Nova Grappler, these are also all golden hits. We have Favorite Champ Victor, we got 2 G-Guards which are pretty good, we've got Zubat Backler Victor, and interesting enough, it's still a pretty good card till this day. We also got Gulsachi, which is an amazing grade 2, and an Energy Girl is an amazing Stand Trigger. Now the grade 2 can be used for a certain play, but from inside sources, is probably not useful at the current day and age, but overall the rest of the reprints are pretty damn good. But then if we move over to Great Nature, again, these reprints are pretty ridiculous. Barwool is a staple stride. We've got the import of the G-Guardian. For some people it might be interesting, for some people not. We got Spangled, which is probably the strongest G-Guard for Great Nature. We see the latest Big Belly, which is the grade 3 version of Crayon Tiger. But the more important thing is, Crayon Tiger is in this reprint set. Probably the poster card of we need reprints was Crayon Tiger. Ever since this card came out originally at the beginning of the Jira, it already needed to be reprinted. And now finally, after what, 5 years or something, it's finally going to be reprinted. So Great Nature will probably be a lot more accessible for a lot of new players. But then earlier today, they also revealed 4 more clans, and one of those clans is Bermuda Triangle. And Bermuda Triangle's reprints are pretty damn good. We've got the Turia Stride, we got the Riviera Stride, as well as the Anji Stride. All these strides are pretty damn good, and the Riviera Stride is very important for the Riviera build. And then if we go down, we see the Tross being reprinted, which is an important card for the Riviera deck as well. And then of course we see Citron as the G-Guard, which is really good. Then Spica as well as Crook are really nice cards who will also be reprinted because they're very flexible. And Spica to some extent is the Crayon Tiger from the clan, but Spica did get a couple of reprints, so she's probably less important. But overall, very nice reprint for Bruno Triangle as well. But then, if we go over to Shadow Paladin, oh boy, did I not have a range of cards being reprinted as perfectly as this, because Shadow Paladin is getting these reprints. This is basically the entire core for Luard. Like, I don't see any other card that's expensive or very hard to get that isn't here. This is ridiculous. The only card that's strikingly odd is Phantom Blaster Dragon. I believe this is the break, right? Or the limit break version. This is odd that it's here, but I have 3 suspicions why they reprinted it. We saw King of Knights Alfred being reprinted, and this is also a very old card that's famous in Vanguard, so maybe they want to go for the nostalgia thing for collectors. But as soon as the Superior Right Chain is a thing in Premium, maybe this is a hint to that they want to build upon that. But we also have the upcoming right line for Phantom Blaster Dragon in Overdress. Maybe there will be some cards that will work wonders with this version of Phantom Blaster Dragon. I'm not betting on it, but there are interesting things to think about for why they might have included this card in the set. But overall, these Luard reprints are... they are perfect! But then if we go over to Kagero, we once again got some very interesting reprints, because we got the Dumditch Stripes, which is really good. We got the Now Griffin, which is amazing. We got the Turnabout Import, which is nice. But then we also see the Destiny, which is interesting. And we see the Cross being reprinted, as well as Balok and Inspire Yell Dragon. Now the thing that I noticed immediately here is that these reprints are here to make the Cross Legion deck a lot more accessible, because a lot of these cards are useful in that particular variant of Kagero. And because they went with the Legion variant and not the Blade Master variant, maybe this is the same thing that we see with New Adaio, that they're going to nuke that variant out of the format. Hopefully they do, because they now make the other variant of Kagero a lot more accessible for players, which is nice. But I have a question though, Bushiroad. Since when did you buff the old Cross? Last time I checked, it didn't have a stride bonus skill. I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. And then finally, the last clan's reprints they confirmed are the ones for Spike Brothers. And overall, these reprints are also pretty damn good. These are basically the core cards that you can use for the Spike Brother Hellheart 8 build, as we got Hellheart 8, we got the G-Flip G-Guardian, we got Agrius for potentially maybe the aggro build, but more importantly, we see again Mega Trainer, and we see Jelly Beans. All the cards you need for the Hellheart 8 build. The only thing that we miss is the heal trigger. Yes, we also see Rising Nova, but I think this is the same ballpark as the Phantom Blaster Dragon reprint and the King of Knights Alfred, that they had to include more of a staple, more of a iconic grade 3 for the clan, and probably the most iconic grade 3 for Spike Brothers for most players is Rising Nova at this point. And those concludes all the reprints that we got for Revival Collection. Now, with the fact that they revealed 4 clans today and 4 clans yesterday, it's very likely that from this point onward, every single day they're gonna reveal all the reprints for 4 different clans. So probably tomorrow 4 other clans, the day after that 4 other clans, and then the day after that another 4 clans, until we got all 24 clans. But apparently we're gonna get even more news tomorrow for the upcoming clan selection set, so I'm very curious of what news we're going to get for that as well. But with that said, that's everything that we got today. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the new cards that were revealed for Magnolia as well as Seraph Snow. What do you think of the new stand triggers with skills, or are you excited for specific reprints in the upcoming Revival selection set? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, I'm gonna thank my Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/FingerInsider for supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/FingerInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I'll see you guys in the next one! And Magnolia is also piece reliant, as you... I know, Seraph Snow, that you're getting support in this video, but wait a minute, it's Magnolia's time now!